are saying that it gets a bit annoying sometimes. If
Yeah,
you
if you
think
keep
about
asking the
yourself
same
talking
thing.
to your
Yes.
friend,
Yes.
yeah, if you have a friend every day, Kevin, what are you doing? What's this? What are you wearing? Why you
Yeah.
wear glasses?
Yeah.
That conversation can't go on. You see, that the interaction is not fun.
This podcast shares personal stories and professional insights, but it's not a substitute for medical advice or therapy. If you're looking for support, do speak to someone qualified and trained in child development or special needs care. You'll find the full disclaimer on the screen and in the show note.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. Adapting Together is a podcast to empower, support, and inspire parents and caregivers with neurodivergent individuals. I'm Xin Yi. I'm the co-host for today's episode. And today, together with me, I have Kevin, also one of our co-hosts, and also Emma. I often hear from parents, my child just doesn't like books, and I totally get it. I want to share an experience with all of you. I've once worked with a little boy, early learner, who would really run away every time when we open a storybook. So, but one day I noticed that he really loved animals and the animal sound. So I went and bought the animal book, like some of those books who came together with those buttons where you can press and then you can listen to different animal sound. And it just started like that. So he started to flip through the pages and then start, naming different animals, point to the pictures, and even start to make some different animal sound. I think those is one of those really beautiful joint attention moments. From there, then language starts to grow, right? So I think that's exactly what today's episode is about, like how book sharing can build language for our children. I'm very excited to welcome back Emma, our speech and language
Hello.
therapist today. Hi. So if you have been following our podcast, you have heard Emma in our last episode where she talked about building connection through speech therapy. So if you haven't heard that one yet, just go and check that out after this episode. It is really packed with practical strategies for parents and also caregivers. Emma, welcome back. It's so good to have you again.
Hi,
Right.
everyone.
I
Thanks for
know.
Welcome.
having me
Thank
again.
you. I'm back.
Okay. Yeah, so today we're going to explore how book sharing can help build language. We know that books can be such a powerful tool. So can you help us to understand, like, why are books such a helpful tool for language development? Some more for children, not just children with autism, but children in general.
Right. I find books they are really helpful and excellent resources for us to use for language development for the children, because I think the nature of book itself, it's storytelling. It's about, expressing an idea or story to our children. So one thing that I find really helpful is that as much as we want to tell our children about things in the world, but a lot of times we can only talk about things that is before our eyes in our direct situation. Like if you're a family who lives in KL, you'll be having a very urban life. You've never seen farm animals before, right? Like all the books that talks about farm animals. Some of the books talks about rockets. Some of them talk about dinosaurs. So I think book is just amazing in expanding our horizon of knowledge, and not just that, but experiences that our actual situation may not be able to offer. So I find that that expansion gives a lot more vocabulary, and a lot more different types of sentences can come about as they are being written in books. So that's for, like, in general children, but I think especially children with autism, book has one very huge advantage, which is it's very predictable. If it's 10 pages, it never
Ah,
changes,
I get that. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so if the child look at the the page, the front cover, they already straight away know what's the content that you're going to talk about. So
Mm,
it just gives that boundaries and safety for that child to actually feel not so overwhelmed when they have to talk to us about something. Because I think a lot of children on the spectrum, the moment they feel like they need to connect to you through language, then a lot of them gets quite overwhelmed. They got quite overwhelmed, and what happens is sometimes they just want to look away, turn away. But I find that sometimes books are helpful in a way that if there's just 10 pages, they can pace themselves and say, okay, it's just 10 pages. I can be with you for 10 pages and then I'll be gone. So I find that really helpful. Yeah.
yes, yes. Thanks for sharing that part. Yeah, I agree with you that predictability is also very important when coming
Yeah.
children who really needs expectation, how many pages I'm gonna read that, right? So can
Yeah.
you also help us to understand like shared reading? How
Mhm.
can it help with communication skills? Like we talked a bit on in the last episode too, such as like drawing attention or social engagement. Do you think book will be a powerful tool to do that?
Yeah, it definitely is. But before we go even further, I think it's important to perhaps explain what does book sharing means. How does it differ from reading? So I think one cool thing that as parents, I think we are always so excited to teach our children about everything. And we take out a book and then we start reading word by word, and then we get very stressed when our kids suddenly don't want our pages and it's go turn, they close the book and we feel very disappointed. Oh, so don't I think one thing I really want to stress is that when some parents will get very anxious when it comes to shared reading because we know how much our children can take, and we know that some books are just way too long, and then we just don't
Mm,
want to approach it, I guess, to avoid some disappointment. So I guess I just want to put in an encouragement that shared reading is not about finishing a whole book. It's just about any activity that you do with a book as a tool to help you to interact. That is shared reading. So after explaining that, I think then it's helpful to explain how does it actually help with joint attention, um, imitation, social engagement. So one thing is that when we read a book, let me just take a book just to for the
wow.
sake of showing what happens when we read. We read, naturally, our little finger will come out and we'll start pointing at
Yeah,
things without realizing.
yeah.
And actually, pointing is such an important gesture that builds a lot of joint attention because that's one of the first gestures that we do to tell our kids to, hey, join your attention on this item with me. I'm going to talk about it. So, so that shared reading itself gives a lot of opportunity for that. So we start pointing at things, and sometimes, you use books with a bit of texture and you start touching it. And then we can see that children will start to pay a bit more attention towards it. And then it helps our children to look at things together, which is actually not easy, especially for children on the spectrum. So that's the first step of joint attention. Definitely is the first step of a social engagement and more rapid language development. Because only when we all are on the same page, looking at the same thing,
Mm,
then the information can be conveyed through, and the child can understand what are we talking about, and it matches what they're seeing and pointing at. I
mm,
hope that makes sense. Yeah. So when we share a book, we pause and then we have a look at what our little one is looking at.
mm,
And then sometimes when we pause, they will be so confused. Why are we pausing? And then they will start to point back to you. That's when you realize, there we go. Now he's initiating, in a way, asking me to continue. So it's a bit of a requesting. It's a bit of an initiating of an interaction with us. So I find that really helpful when that happens.
yeah.
Yeah, so I
I
hope
can,
that
yeah.
helps, yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. Sometimes it's not just pointing. Sometimes the kid just look up and look at us. That is also
Yeah,
thing to continue. Because some kids maybe they don't even have that skill to point at things at first, but that
right.
contact and that shared engagement, I think it's also so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you share about different kinds of book there just now in your example, Emma. And apparently, not all books are same. Even books are generally children's book. So
Yeah.
on that, I was just curious if there's any specific types of books that might work really well, or especially for learners who are on the spectrum.
Right. We all know that a lot of our little ones or the big ones on the spectrum, they have very specific or focused interests. That is one of their superpower. So I would say before we talk about the, like longer book, shorter book, is it interactive book or picture book of novels, it all depends on what they like. Whatever the person like is the best, I find. So some, I realized a lot of our children actually started with a lot of this kind of like, glossary kind of book. You have one whole page of trucks, one page of whales. Oh my goodness, like those books are tricky for adults. We're like, other than what's this, what's that, we don't know what else to say, right? But you know what? That is actually best for them at that situation if the child is already into it. So that I would say first of all is just follow their interest first. Uh, I just find it really hard when I first started working and one of my kids brought this kind of book here. I almost fainted. I was like, what can we do with this? Like, glossaries with like pictures of like 100 pictures. I have no idea what to do. But eventually, I think it just really depends on their interest. If the boy, because some of our children on the spectrum is that they are so different profile. Some of them love very intense visual stimulation. So the messier the book, the better. Whereas some of our children, they are like, oh, this is so overwhelming, I'm gonna die. So they prefer books which are simpler and cleaner. Maybe something a bit like The Hungry Caterpillar, it's the art of it is very clean. It's only one object at a time, especially for children who are, I would say, very beginning of still starting their baby steps to dip into the world of language. I think for me, the usual go-to for me would be the simpler, cleaner book so that they can focus on what they're saying. But some who are already very advanced in particular field of knowledge, they would prefer to have those very, very advanced glossary book.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think later maybe we can explore how we can use those different kind of books. I think that would be helpful. But before that, I think it would be helpful to just put down a few I guess paradigm or area to consider when we choose books. Yeah, so first was just now what I was saying and backtrack a little bit, which is their interest. Second is their actual preferences in their sensory wise or their ability to cope with the level of visual stimulus. I think that's another thing. Thirdly, I think one very important thing is the level of language. Just like we won't throw a novel at a 2-year-old because they just can't access it at all.
Don't even show it at
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, so I would say we have to match the developmental milestone. Let's say if our child is at 1 to 2 word level, so you don't just choose book with it's just 1 to 2 word. Actually, what we do is one step up, which is because we match their receptive language, which is their understanding, instead of their expressive language, which is their expression and their use of words. So, one small little tip is that a lot of time our expression is a tad slower than our understanding. So, if you are already speaking in one-word sentences, the child's understanding could be actually one shot, maybe 2 to 3 sentences. If the child is just at 2-3 word level, actually the understanding could already be up to sentences. So you kind of can move slightly forward from what they already can, and then we give the longer, slightly more advanced, I guess, model for them to learn from, and they can always respond in shorter sentences, and that's totally fine. So I hope these few areas helps. And then one additional one, which is for me, because book is quite dear to me, where I find that it gives a lot of good living ideas. It gives a lot of good, I would say book is a way we can dip into different big brains of people in the world. Even though it's a very big step for a lot of us with children on the spectrum, we feel like, we don't need to know too much. But I find that giving books which has a very nicely written content and actually good values in it is also very helpful because they won't be reading a lot of books, but we want them to read good books. I think that helps. Yeah.
So the first thing very important is to ensure we pick a book that's matched the interest of the child.
Yes.
Then
Correct.
second one is to ensure that it's not too overwhelming visually for the child
Yeah.
unless we are quite sure that they are already able to cope with more noises in the books.
Yeah.
And then try to stretch
Yeah.
one level ahead for them.
That's right. That's right. Not too long. It's like the just right challenge is usually what I like to put it. Because a lot of time I think we get so comfortable with where they are at, and then we just
Yeah.
always quite saturated at that level. So like some of our children, I realize when they like fruits, the parents will a lot of us naturally would just buy books about fruits, and then they will ask, "What's this? What color is this?" So
I'm
it's
guilty of this.
helpful to yeah, because we love them and we know that's what they like, and we will be my suggestion is to slowly see how we can move beyond that. Maybe we can buy a book about animals eating fruits instead of just a book about fruits. See, that's a little way for you to kind of stretch that interest a little bit. Yeah.
It's a little bit like we call it pairing in ABA. Like, so
Cool.
really like something already. So I want to
Mhm.
pair some neutral things that there is a possibility that they might like the neutral things in the,
Ah.
yeah. Correct. So
Yeah, that's a good thing that I can remember pairing. Yeah. Find a
yeah,
pair.
pair. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly how we want to expand their interest lah, whether it's in
Mm.
reading or toys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I know
Good.
this earlier. My
Too
son
late.
Too late
Kobe,
now. Yeah.
my son Kobe, he loved book from the time he was even like before 1 year old. So we were too
Yeah.
happy, like, why how come this so young, so small already like to flip book, and he knows what book he's like. Then we always buy books. Even at bookstore, he would know like he wanted a book means he wanted a book. Then we would buy. And when we know that this certain like farm animal was his favorite, I will keep buying farm animal books.
Mm.
Then he learned the same animal again and again and again.
Yeah, sometimes I think book is just a tool. Sometimes is that we are not very equipped on tools or like, ways that we can expand that same book. I think that is also maybe another skill set that we can eventually discuss. I think that's helpful. So, for example, like I know a lot of us know the Very Hungry Caterpillar story. So, because there's like the
Popular.
typical
Yeah.
preschool level reading. And a lot of time we just read what it is, but sometimes it's helpful to actually ask a child to talk about, it's Monday. I wonder what will the caterpillar eat on Tuesday? And then we can talk about the taste. Do you think it's sour? Do you think it's sweet? Do you think it's crunchy? Do you think it's juicy? See, so sometimes we can extrapolate a little bit, and then that same book can have a little bit of different color and different exposure of experiences and ideas to our children. So don't beat yourself up if you buy too many of the same books. Perhaps you can expand and try pairing, but at the same time we can also talk about how we can still use those, but different ways. Yeah,
Yeah. So now
then
I
it won't
have
be
a
going
new
to
challenge.
waste. Okay, don't worry.
Now I have a new challenge for myself. I want to go and find some new books and go and do shared reading with him.
Aww,
But I also
such
wonder,
a
right?
yeah.
Some children with autism, they might have
Mm,
shorter attention span, or
mm,
they might have a stronger preference towards visual things. How
mm.
in this sense, how can books support their unique learning style?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I was just thinking about what Kevin said about his son. He loves books from very young. Actually, a lot of our children on the spectrum loves books because of the predictability, one thing. Second is there is letters in it. They just love letters and numbers,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I
Is
think
it?
because
Oh,
because phonics has such a predictable rule, a lot of them can, especially some of the higher functioning children on the spectrum, what happen is they figure out the phonics rules and that excites them. So they love reading, even though they might not understand what they're reading. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that I guess as parent we get very happy about, but at the same time we wonder what's going on. Yeah, but I think that's where we're coming in to support, even though they can read, but at the same time we want them to make sense of it. Yeah, coming back to the question. Yeah, I think sometimes the struggle is they only want to read one page and they had enough. They're just like, forget about it. Get lost, get lost. I want to go back to my toy. So I think the timing, I think, is very important. One is, when do you want to do reading? For me, I would recommend parents to have a very specific time. Like, let's say if it's a mealtime reading, it could be after you shower, before you go to bed, there's this time of winding down. You just want to do one book at that time. It kind of like creates a habit. I think having the space to do that really helps. It gives that predictability. Okay, now it's book time. We're going to try it. So that's one way to reduce the resistance, I would say, and keep it short and keep it interesting, keep it simple. With books, I think one way is you just be very clear. If you know your son can only do 2 pages, just aim 2 pages, close. No need to finish. It's okay. Yeah. So I think that don't give ourselves too much of a stress to, I must finish this book. But sometimes what I find helpful is I even just put like a sticker or something that they really like on page 3. Let's say I know I want them to reach page 3. I will just slot it on page 3. And then I'll say, look, we're going to read page 1, page 2. And then we will have like Superman sticker. So, okay, let's do page 1, page 2, and page 3. Ta-da! We did it. And then you get a sticker. And then it becomes like a motivating, a bit of a treasure hunt feeling as we read. I think that is one little tip we can use. And I think how book in general is going to help is that I'm talking about picture books here because we're talking about context of children. It really helps because books have a lot of pictures, and when we talk about it, when we point at a particular part of the picture, it gives our children that visual input of what are we talking about. Because a lot of our children on the spectrum is that language, spoken language itself is becoming, it's almost like, 1 year in, 1 year out, because it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense or it doesn't stick. Whereas when there's a visual in front of us, they see it, they hear it, it's kind of multi-modal, we call it 2 modes, and then it joins. The idea connects in the head with that particular word. So I find books helpful in this way in helping our children with this, super strong visual interest. So I think that really helps. Yeah, that's a good question.
I think
Yeah,
you have a lot of tricks up your sleeve
yeah.
to put the sticker in page 3.
I am also very impressed at that. I never thought of putting a bookmark or a sticker at each page and surprise. That's a really
It's
luck
like
for
a
the
reward for the child.
yeah.
Kind of, yeah. I was just thinking how I can make reading not so overwhelming. I think some of them 10 pages is too much. They see the book so thick, right? They're, I'm gonna die. And some of the kids I can see they're just like, move on. It's too much of a commitment. Yeah, so I try to play with it.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on those digital books or story apps? So since we're talking about kids who may need a lot of visual input or sensory, so what's your opinion on those?
So I'm actually a bit intrigued. When you're talking about digital book, do you mean like book with sounds, or you mean books on iPad or?
Books on iPad.
So iPad.
I see. Yeah, I was thinking back during the COVID period, I do a lot of those teletherapy. So I use a
Yes.
lot of digital books during that
Mm,
time as well
mm,
because of the limitation of distance, right? So I think there is a place for digital books in situation like that. And you have certain books that you like and you don't have access to it physically. I think sometimes digital book can fill the gap. But at the same time, between digital book and hard copy physical book, my opinion is that my preference go to the papers, just because the nature of screen itself is actually not too helpful for early years children with the early years, because the light from the screen can be actually quite tiring for their eyes and very stimulating.
mm,
And what happened is sometimes it goes overboard and gets overstimulating. And you can see that the child gets really tired or cranky after that. Or another thing that we're talking about is if you are trying to do book sharing for language learning purposes, then sometimes what happens is moving screens or moving elements in a story app could be overstimulating, and what happened is the child's mind is very busy processing what's in the eyes, and then what is happening to the sound is sometimes missed out. That happens sometimes. So I guess at the end of the day, it depends on how long you use it is one thing. Second thing is how ready is our child to process multiple very high stimulating visual with audio. How are they taking it? But a lot of our children on spectrum is that they are always very captivated by this visual side of thing because it's easier, more direct to process. And then whatever meaning that comes to it, the sound sometimes get missed out. So that's sometimes my take on digital books or story apps. But there are good stories out there. I sometimes let my kid watch some short stories. I sometimes would rather keep the stories really simple, and some of the app that I'm not sure about app because I don't use a lot of apps, but I do use some of the if you browse YouTube, sometimes they have like book reading that they
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So sometimes I do that with my child, and I find it not overstimulating when there's some real person just flipping a book in the video. I find that it's actually quite bearable and actually helpful when I just need a 2-minute break or like half an hour. I don't do half an hour, I usually do 15 minutes. Then when we are reading together with him in a way, book sharing through a YouTube video, I find that helps still because you're still there explaining what's going on. So I think it's how you use it is the way to take it like. Yeah.
This give me an idea. Maybe I can try to do some book reading video and put on YouTube. Maybe got people appreciate this kind of video.
I'm sure. Yeah, you do what your son like. I heard some people what they do is they actually record these for their own children. They put it on YouTube, and then it it blows up because they're reading with such enthusiasm, and it's for your loved ones. So yeah, why not?
But if I do, it'll be a very down one. So maybe it got popular because of the opposite direction. This is a cow.
Well, we can always, there's always an audience for different things.
Yeah. Actually, this morning only I discussed with my wife because my son likes to hold on to his iPad. Of course, he
Ah,
use it for YouTube and sometimes go to
mm,
the photo. So he was
ah,
thinking maybe you want to download some electronic digital book with
mm.
animals that he likes, or we take photo of his books and put it there so that we don't have to carry a lot of books when we go out.
What a great
So,
idea.
Yeah.
but then we were hesitating because, that means we are all going to be indirectly encouraging him to hold on to the iPad more often than what he's currently doing.
Right, I see where you're
So,
coming
yeah,
from.
so
Yeah,
it's a bit
I
of
think for me, I think that talking about this iPad, I guess is a very, very hot topic now, right? iPad, all this. Yeah, but I think at the end of the day is how you use it, and because if it's still not whenever we use a pad, it is not replacing the interaction that the person would have without the iPad, then I think it's okay. Let's say you are just reading a book that you have taken from books, pictures of books that you have taken from his favorite books, and he looks at it, and then we are interacting with it. That is still quality interaction. That still works. I think we're just talking about the issue with screen is the excessive use of it, and they're almost brain rotting in a way where just scroll through songs after songs after songs after songs. Then I think then it becomes a bit idle. Yeah.
I also remember just now Emma shared about the routine and habit thing. Kevin, maybe you
Yeah.
can also take the idea from there, from Emma, that you can set certain timing. Just now she mentioned about that routine or that habit. You set certain time, this is available. And
Mm.
you're too worried about the sudden high usage of that iPad. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking when Emma was talking about routine
Mm.
in sharing the book, right?
Mm.
It's a bit challenging for us to set a fixed time in throughout a
Mm.
day. The only time that we are very confirmed can do this kind of activity with him will be when he's in his car seat. Because we spend a lot of time on the
Oh,
road. So that will be the time that he's
good idea.
trapped there.
Oh, I see. That works because in the car, the only interesting thing is you already, right? Because there's nothing else to look at.
Mm,
If you are
Not
not car
exactly.
sick,
Also, he has
motion
learned to
sickness.
appreciate the view outside. And he knows
Ah,
sometimes when we turn, like we go straight past his center, he sometimes will be very happy. Or sometimes when we turn
oh,
there, he will start to say no. So I think he know the way around already also.
oh, that's great. That's great. I love it. At least he's exploring, just looking and have those downtime. It's really helpful. Yeah, that's good.
But
I think,
explore
I
maybe
think,
reading in the
mm,
car.
yeah, really, in the car, I just hope that you have no motion sickness, I guess. Yeah, I've tried it and I find myself, visually overwhelmed just by the movement and all. But if you can do it, go for it. I think it's just about what suits your family lifestyle the most.
Yeah.
For me, that particular time helped because of predictability and I put it in a schedule, and then for the kid there's less resistance. And another thing I find helpful is that actually it's just a research that I thought it was helpful to share is that, a family who has this reading habit of just 2 books a day will have a lot of extra words and vocabulary for your child. I should have fact checked that, but I remember about this research. I can't remember how many word gap. It's a huge word gap between children with families that read and family who doesn't. And there's another research that says most important thing is having books at home. And then what happens because it's there when they're idle, nothing to do, they'll start flipping it. So it gives them a lot more opportunity to actually be excelling in their academics and in learning in general. I think that is 2 things that important enough to help us think, okay, if we want our child to have that exposure to books, have a kickstart, first start at learning and academics in general, I think that is one thing we do want to encourage for all children. And we want to include the children on the spectrum in it also. They shouldn't miss out. Yeah.
Okay. So, maybe now let's
Mm,
talk about some maybe barriers and practical strategies for parents and also educators, right?
sure.
And what's one skill that you think parents often overlook when supporting language at home?
I think one thing that I think parents all have the heart to want to teach and want to learn with them, and they want the best for their children. And sometimes I think one thing is whether they see themselves having that role to support at home, or sometimes they'll just think, just let the professional do it. So I think the first step I just want to encourage a parent is just try it because you are the one that spend the most time with our children at home. So you definitely have a huge important role to fill. But don't be too overwhelmed by it is one thing. Second thing is just give it a try. So I think one thing that for me as a start or when I started working, I realized I'm like that when I read with children, and I realized a lot of parents, especially when we are first time parents, right, we don't know what to do. And then when we read, I think one strategy that we always do is the questionnaire. We just take a book, what's this? We haven't even started telling anything about the book, right? We just open, wow, look at this. What's this? I was like, our child doesn't know the word caterpillar yet, but just straight away, what's this? What color is this? What color is this? How many eyes does it have? What letter is this? You know what I mean?
And
We
when they
start
say
to be
correctly, we ask again and again on the same time.
correct.
Because
We
we
are
are happy
happy.
also. We are happy to hear correct
Excited, so we want to
response.
test again and again.
We are happy that our children have knowledge, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that's motivating us to keep asking questions, especially things that they already know and we want them to show their understanding. So I think we are happy about that. But at the same time, I think it's also very important to expand. So I think one key thing that I hope parents will eventually be a bit more sensitive about, or having this expansion mindset, is that when the child already know, let's say, the color, we know the child knows that the caterpillar is green, but we always still ask, what color is it? Green. It's like, oh, okay, we don't know what else to ask already. So I I think one important thing is just to say in sentence, if you already know it's green, we just say, oh look, green caterpillar. The green caterpillar is crawling and his tummy is rumbling. What's going on? What is gonna do next? So sometimes this kind of question is actually very helpful. Even though when our children cannot answer yet, you answer by yourself. What is he gonna do? I think his tummy is hungry. He's going to eat. Eat yummy, yummy food. So that gives the model of language for our children, without asking too much. One thing is, I think the question some parents will ask is, why cannot ask? No, can ask. But if you only ask, then it become a problem, because our children don't hear the full sentence, right? All they hear is what's this, what's that. But they don't hear a good sentence model of, the green caterpillar is crawling, or this caterpillar is green. You see? What's that is green? Versus this caterpillar is green. You see, you can hear the sentence structure, and it just gives them the food to their mind to process,
It's also a
build
bit annoying.
understanding of language. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
also a bit
I guess if
annoying if you
I'm
keep
not
asking.
sorry.
Yeah, you are saying that it gets a bit annoying sometimes. If
Yeah,
you
if you
think
keep
about
asking the
yourself
same
talking
thing.
to your friend,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, if you have a friend every day, Kevin, what are you doing? What's this? What are you wearing? Why you
Yep.
wear glasses? That conversation can't go on. You see, the interaction is not fun. Then actually, for some of the children, I realized that they feel very stressful about it, and they just rather not read. Just like, yeah, just move on. Yeah. So I really want to encourage um the expansion by actually commenting or looking and talking about what we see, instead of asking him what color and the facts that he already knows, so we can move on from that. Yeah.
Maybe you can
Mm.
consider having like a class or course, right, that teaches parents like me who always
Yeah.
ask the same thing, how to be more creative and fun when we try to read book with the children.
Sure. I should systematize it, I guess. I just, just I usually, what I do is, sometimes I get parents to sit in my session, and then I get them to bring a book from home and just try it. And then I give some coaching as we go along. So I think one tips that it was just simple enough to just, I think, share it here, is you look at your own hand, you open the palm out. There's 4 long fingers and 1 thumb. So it reminds us that we do 4 statements and sentences before we ask a question. So that's for me. When I do session, I look at my hand. Okay, how many quota have I give myself in giving statements? So sometimes we talk about what we see, and then we talk about what the thing is doing. Just you do your WH question, they answer straight away without asking. So it's like, what is this? This is a caterpillar. What's he doing? The caterpillar is crawling. Crawling where? Where is he crawling to? It's crawling to the leaf. Why is he crawling? He wants to eat some food. Then we can say, what food is he gonna eat? Then we only ask one of the question for our children to answer. It can even be a question that is answering. Sorry, you already gave the one of the answer before one of the statements, and then we ask one question based on the sentence that we already fed it to our children, and then we see if they can process it or not. So that's one quick tips that you can just kickstart with. Just try it. Yeah.
This is a very good framework or reminder. I remember my
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Keep it short, keep it simple. One question after 4 statements. Yeah. That's how you can do it.
Time for the good tips.
Okay, so Emma, have you
Mm.
encountered any children who would prefer movements or just sensory input? So how can we adapt all these reading sessions for these children?
Oh, yeah. You know, those that are the wiggly bums that cannot sit still, right?
Yes,
They just have
yes,
to get out and do something. So
yes.
I really like to use book as a prop, or I even sometimes bring props into session to do
Mm,
a book sharing session. But if you're malas to prepare, we can use something we call like, sometimes I like all these little puppet books
oh, okay.
because there's movement going on. I mean, I move, but sometimes I will let our children to put their finger in it and then they wiggle it. And
Mm,
I find that what helpful, like this one is an old MacDonald book. Number one is a song, so at least it's a very predictable storyline, which is I'm just gonna finish Old MacDonald's song. So Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O, on his farm he had a, and then sometimes I'll hide the puppet away. Uh-oh, had a what? Boing! Have a cow. E-I-E-I-O. What does a cow do? The cow's eating some grass. Yum, 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 yum. Then I will pretend to grab some and give the person, do you want to eat some? And then the child might just, no, I don't want. Okay, what do you want to eat? Apple. Okay, never mind. The cow likes to eat some hay. So that's one way we can use a puppet book. And then another thing that I like to do is, I'm not quite sure if you're familiar with one of the book. It's called "We're Going on a Bear Hunt. We're going to
yeah,
catch a big
Right.
one.
yeah,
What a beautiful day!" And we are not scared by Michael Rosen. So
yeah.
sometimes what we do is we actually act out the story. Yeah, so we can like one of the page you say, "Ooh, long wavy grass." Then
Mm,
we can't go over it. We say, okay, pretend, like I take a cloth out. And you see this long wavy grass, we can't go over it. Can you jump over the
yeah,
cloth? And then we try, I cannot, can we go under? And I block it at the bottom. Cannot. We gotta go through it from the middle. Shoo! Then we actually, when we do that kind of book play based on a book story, I think it really still serve a function as a book share, part of a book sharing activities. And I think another one that is helpful is sometimes books with some sensory segments with it. Like one of these Esmond is from the Esbon touchy-feely books. Some of them they have very fluffy things, different textures. I find our little wiggly fingers will enjoy this because while you read, they can start touching things. So I saw one of my client just loves fiddling with things. So
mm,
when we do sensory book, what happened is that I can see them paying the attention with the texture. Then we talk about texture. We just talk about, ooh, the hair is so fluffy, so fluffy. Then the finger was just like fluffing the hair. And then some of the pages, let's say one of it is quite cute. It has, where was it again? Yeah, it has a squishy nose. So
mm.
one of the child just keep pressing. So when he pressed, it just like, ouch, that hurts. The doggy say, don't press my nose. Ouch, ouch. Or like when he pressed, I just go and pretend to bite. Don't touch it. And then the child giggles. So interaction like that helps to make the book not so dry, especially for those who are just starting to read. Yeah. I find that helpful.
I think this is a thing that is very far for me, the gap in the skill. If it's me, I would say the dog has fur. This is fur. What color is fur? I will never think of the the actions and emotions that you just have, like the nose, black
Uh-huh.
nose, dog has nose. This is my nose. I'll do like that. I would not think about what the press the dog will hurt or what not. So it will be
Yeah.
dry if my son is
Mm.
reading with.
Oh, I think sometimes it's that we adults has grown so long in the adult world that we lost the wonder of the world. So I think one thing that really helps is sometimes just go back to their level and think if I'm a child, when I press it, what emotion does it give me? What thought does it give me? And then when we express that, that really becomes a fun interaction, and it's not just about finishing a book. I think that sometimes we miss a point. We go back to, we gotta read, and then we gotta finish the book, and then it stresses us out when the kids go like distracted. It's like, oh my goodness, my kids cannot focus, and then we get even more stressed out, and then our kids feel the stress, and they're like, this is not fun. I'm not gonna do it again. Get me out of this crazy book world. So we don't want to give that vibe to our children. Yeah, so if they don't want to read, it's fine. I think at the start, we just want to introduce what book is. And then sometimes for my little one, they might just lick the book because doesn't really know what it's for, right? Then sometimes what I do is when the sensory part, what I do is sometimes I put it on their face, they feel it, and then it's just engage that senses and giving that interest towards it. I think that is a very good first steps as well. So we can always start there. And I think one more thing is that don't beat ourselves up too much is because um we are not reading with our children according to just age level, but we are reading according to their current language level. That's very important. So let's say if our children are nonverbal and they haven't started to talk yet, it's okay. So we don't have to force our child to give us a verbal response. All we want to do is just the eyes looking at the book, touching it, listening to you. You're already doing a million things for the child already. That gonna means a lot. So yeah, just do little steps and you will, before you realize it, you would already have done good thing to your children.
Thank you for saying that. Now I feel less guilty.
You have tried. The most important thing is you try. Okay, don't give up, Kevin.
Can do it. I can do it.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I've,
What about, say, like, some parents might think that my child does not like books, or he always walk away after like flip one page or whatnot. Where can they start if that's the case? Or does it mean that if we think that the child doesn't like book, means we should move on from books and find something else?
yeah, I think let's go back to the pairing that Sydney was talking about. Find that interest. So I think a lot of time the child doesn't like the book. It could be two things. One is book has never been introduced before. Maybe this is our first try. So we don't always like something at our first sight. And there's not love at first sight is a romantic idea that doesn't always happen. So I think just keeping it lighthearted at the start. Giving good experience with it, like hiding stickers in it, or you can find books of their interest. Let's say if one of my child really loves pirates, I have to find a pirate book, and when they look at the picture, it somehow will ding. And I have another child who just loves Peppa Pig, even though I don't like Peppa Pig, but she likes Peppa Pig. We're gonna do Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I don't particularly like Peppa Pig because I feel like the story and the picture sometimes doesn't match. That's my experience. So I just use the picture. So I think that is also something that we can think about is that we don't have to finish reading it. We don't have to do word by word. One thing I was preparing was I actually have a book that I don't understand the language with it. You see, this is a Korean book, right?
Wow.
So I don't know a single word, but I can make it out. You see, this is about like a brick, and then when you open the flap, it's a house in it. So I might just say, "Oh, there's something built with bricks. I wonder what it is." It's a house. You see, I don't even know what the book is about, but you can always have a pre-read yourself before you read to the child and think what you want to say, and then only you do that first try. So I think that prep, we cannot just, want it to be good without prepping, right? So when we prepare by just reading it one round with yourself first, so that you don't like on the way, what's this? What's this? By the time where is it? Where's
Run
the word?
away
Mommy cannot
Run
see.
away
Mommy cannot
already.
see. Then the child's gone. So when we ourselves are familiar with the story, you're comfortable with it, then you can be creative with it. So I think sometimes it's just that 1 minute preparation. It doesn't have to be like, I need to do my research. I need to look at how people do it. No need. You just read through it one time before you share it with your kid. You only call your kid when you're ready. Like call your your book not ready yet, the light not ready yet. And then another tip I have is eat and read at the same time. A favorite snack. So, like some of the kids, they just don't like reading, but we can pair with their favorite snack while they're munching. Cannot run away, right? I mean, less likely. At least this part is busy. Then it helps their ears to open up while their mouth is busy. In a way, they are fidgeting to get their stress out. And, when you eat, it just give you that relaxed feeling. And then I think it's more likely to accept something new, and especially if it's something that is of the child interest, I think you will have a success. Whenever your child look at one page at a time already, you just count it as success. And then little step, the next reading session, you try 2 pages. The next one, you try 3 pages. Eventually, you get through the book. So yeah, just bear with the feeling of not completing it, because I know we don't like it.
How about for children who have alternative who is on the AAC, like the alternative and augmentative communication system? Do all these tips or strategies also work?
Yeah, actually, AAC, come to think of it, it's just another mode of language. It's still language. So what we want to do again is sometimes we use our AAC app to we can point at it, like point at the icons to comment. It's about the function of language. For example, if you look at the book, we are always labeling, we can always say, oh, turn this page. What is this? We can always go there and press dog, right? So the same question persists, you see. So sometimes we are getting very stuck with just labeling. We just like turn the page. What is it? Go to your app and find it, and then you press dog, cat, and then it becomes quite dry. So what is helpful and important is for the caregiver, whoever is interacting with the child, to actually also use AAC to tell the story. That is a bit of a practice, right? So when you look at the book, you open it, let's say if the page is a dog, we have to be able to find
The dog.
your AAC and say, the dog is running. So we can point at dog, we point at running. Dog's running. Then only we move on to the next page. So we always model first, and then only we expect the child to use it back to you. Yeah.
I
So
guess
it won't come straight away.
Yes, understand.
Mhm.
So it's like when during vocal we want to do a lot of commenting, but even for kids who are on his AAC or SGD on the device, then we would want to be familiar with their devices and start to do commenting on those
Yes.
communication board.
I
Yeah.
think one thing is we ourselves have to be comfortable with the AAC first. We don't the app is for a child to communicate, but to communicate, the person who are teaching the child to communicate and the person that the child is communicating with can be very encouraging by being part of the same communication mode. I think it encourages the child to say, oh, I'm not different. My mode of communication is accepted, not just accepted, but embraced. So when you see your own, let's pretend if you are, writing to a person, the person writes back to you. For me, it's WhatsApp lah. Sometimes I type, and the person audio back me. I'm like, I don't like audio. Why do you keep sending me audio? Then I type back, type. The person audio me again. I'm like, different people have different mode of communication. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on the same mode, and I'm not talking about when you drive or not. You should use your phone, but that's when people audio, right? But I'm talking about the feeling of being on the same page, and it just encourages the child to keep using the AAC, to keep using that voice when we use the same voice as the child. It models, and it gives that confidence that this is what you can do with the AAC. Yeah.
Right. So, just personally, Emma, like, did you
Oh.
have a favorite book or any favorite book when you work with kid or even with your daughter?
Yeah, going a bit more personal. So for me, depends on the age, but for very young beginner, people who just started to talk, the early talkers, I go into very basic book, and I've taken it out just now as this Usborne Touchy Feely books. They have a whole range, and I like it with very young children because one thing is it doesn't focus on labeling, which is a very short, just one word, right? It focuses a lot on textures. It talks about, that's not my puppy. Its coat is too hairy. You see, it talks about the hairiness of it. And then the next page talks about the tail is too fluffy. So the language that they are exploring is a lot wider than just what we see. It naturally guides the parents to talk more about the feeling and what they see, and the describing words that's being used are pretty colorful. So I like that it guides the parents pretty well, I feel. And for my older child, I have another child who's 3 turning 4. He likes books that's a bit more humorous.
Oh.
So one of the example that we recently just got from the library that he loves is this book. It says "My Picture After the Storm." So for the sake of those listeners, there's a picture of a lion with the very messy hair. So this book illustrates before and after. So I'm actually teaching him the idea of before and after. So this book comes very handy where it talks about the first page. They talk about, let's say, my picture, right? It has a range of food. Hilariously is that it talks about my picture, and then the next page, right next to it, it says my picture after lunch. So on the before lunch one, there's bread, apple, cheese, boiled spinach, yogurt, an ant, a glass of water. But after lunch, you're only left with crumbs, core of the apple, rind of the cheese, boiled spinach untouched, dregs, messy yogurt, a swimming pool because someone spilled the glass of water and the ant is stuck in it. So you see that it's a lot of language opportunity to comment and to explore. That is the kind of book that I quite enjoy reading with the slightly older children. Even children on the spectrum, this is actually very, very helpful for 2 things that I like to teach them, which is inferencing and predicting. And reasoning, actually. So big words for the parents. Inferencing just means that they can make a smart guess based on what they see. So let's say when you look at crumbs, right, your smart guess would be, how come it become crumbs? Oh, crumbs is referring to the bits of bread. So then my son would tell me, I said, why it become crumbs? Then my son said, oh, because someone ate the bread already. So the leftover it's on the table. Oh, okay. Then we talked about, well, how come the boiled spinach is the same? Because he doesn't like spinach. So see, so that is the thing that a lot of our children on spectrum struggles with. So when we explore that, they'll be like, oh, okay, I guess we can make guesses like that. So it gives us that level of thinking, and we are growing them towards it. So for the older ones who are already talking and exploring sentences, I think that's a good place to go to. So yeah, explore your local library. I think there are a few back home. It's pretty good. You can go to the National Library. You can try the Shah Alam Library. Some other private. I think you just have to Google Map and just type library and see what other suggestion do they have for you. Yeah, but I do find that good literature is not easy to find back home. So my go-to is you start with book lists online. You can always Google award-winning picture book, and then you will see some of the good ones being listed there. And then you can slowly go to YouTube, and then you check through the stories, and then you see if your child will like that story or suitable for your child or not. If you like it, then only you go Shopee or wherever to buy it. So don't rush into buying, because a lot of time you might buy and then you come back, your child doesn't like it, and then you feel
Wasted.
demotivated, then you're like, oh, we're just not gonna get this happen, and just skip this part. I just don't want that to be a reason for us to stop reading. Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you for sharing all that.
Mm,
Just maybe before we wrap up the episode, just have one more question to
mm,
pick your brain a bit. Uh,
sure.
is there even one, or what is the one language or communication milestone that makes you smile?
I like it when the child finally starts to reciprocate. That means that I'm not just, as a speech therapist, I'm always the one, talk to me, be like that that figure. So the kid, when they see me, they know, okay, I hear I'm the talking class, I need to come and talk. So some of them, they feel like very, come on, just 1 hour faster, get away. So what happened is when the child starts to reciprocate, what I mean is having a to and fro interaction. Be it a very simple one, like let's say the one that I shared last week was the child that, played money with me. But the moment that when I shake it, it look at me and that connecting, I know Bluetooth connected. Then the child's looking at me, and then when I do something, even though the child doesn't say anything, it gives me a giggle, a laugh. We know that you understand already. And that moment is what we are always looking for. We're looking for that glimmer in the eye or go ding, are we on the same page? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? When that happens, that's the best. Yeah. So for my daughter, recently I find it joyful when we were just playing. I put her in the laundry basket, and then I shake it. I go like, ready, set, go, 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 go. Giggle, and then she wants me to do it again, but she doesn't know how to make me do it again. And she actually looked at me, and then she kind of like, ugh. It's not a word, but that's more than a word, because that is an intention of do it again. You see? So whenever the intention is there, that's all that matters. Even for children on spectrum, that's all that matters. If there's an intention, we can work with that. So we want that connection, and it's amazing when it's the Bluetooth connected from my, devices always, that we can go somewhere from there. Then when they enjoy that connection, and they actually, when we keep saying, when they go, we say again, eventually that makes sense. Oh, that doing it again, the keyword is called again. And then that's how our brain learn language. And then what happened is the next time we say again, the glimmer of light come out, because he knows, I know that word. That means the fun thing is gonna happen again. So yeah, I hope that helps. That is something that really is what we all should seek when we come to encouraging talking.
Well, thank you so much, Emma, for sharing all these beautiful insights and tips with all of us. What I learned throughout this nearly an hour of conversation is that books are not just books, they are perfect tools for parents and caregivers to use to create a meaningful and quality interaction with the child. And not only it does help to build up their language and maybe their vocabulary, I'm sure it also helps parents to improve our languages as well and more words. Because there are some words that I don't know how to pronounce, and because of that, I would learn a new word or two from this activity.
Yeah.
And from this conversation, I have made up my mind that I want to go back to use book as a tool to engage my son. And I'm sure I'm no longer just going to ask him about what's the color of the pig or cow or the sky. I'll try to create story and really use books as a tool for us to facilitate the parents and the children to more, like involve into a story environment. Then hopefully throughout this activity, we can share more joint attention, and then we can walk into their world and they can walk into our world. And again, you are listening to Adapting Together, and you just listened to what Emma, who is a speech and language pathologist or speech therapist, sharing a lot of tips with us. If you like it or if you find it useful, do share it with people you care about as well, because it will also be immensely helpful for them. And with that, I'm signing off with co-host Xin Yi. And thank you again, Emma, and thank you to all the listeners. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.